show you both sides on how to use ChatGPT and Copilot together and separately, alone, depending upon what system you want to use. We're going to build off of last week's class where we talked about building a statement of work and a statement of need. And so we want to make sure that we do these things so that everyone can start to really see how these classes work. It may help you get more done in less time. It makes a big difference when we have these tools. And a lot of times we haven't really had access to these tools. Again, AI just being probably the last 3 years when I really started studying it. But let's back up a little bit more. It's been around for a really long time, but it's really become mainstream and accessible to the layperson to use these tools. And the more I learn about Copilot and how people can use it securely, learn the value of how people can use the ChatGPT to do deep research and different things. So we've come across a lot to help us do our jobs better and get these things done, which makes a big difference. Again, just makes a big difference. All right, top of the hour, never punish the punctual. Welcome everyone to our class today, which is AI-powered solicitations and evaluations. And we're going to go as far as we can on the evaluation side because we don't normally get real access to those things. Okay, we know normally a lot of people keep those things secret. They're not allowed to share vendor responses and vendor information. So we'll take that as far as we can. And that way we know that we're at least trying to get it going, right? We're trying to get it going and make sure things are happening. Okay, we've got everyone in. All right, Firefly note taker. Welcome, Diana, which is really cool as well. Okay, let me go ahead and share my screen right here. All right, learning how to use this. Right. Okay, so I'm learning how to use Microsoft Teams. Before I was using StreamYard, Zoom, and Zoho, and I really like the Teams platform for a couple of reasons. One, it's a platform we can use securely, and everyone uses it, so a lot of people have access to it. And it's starting to show that it really has a lot more capability than what we've seen in the past. All right, so we're good to go. Talk to Firefly. Say, hey, Firefly, how can I help you? Got started. All right, cool. Not a problem. Definitely take notes because we want you to use this stuff. That's what it's all about, using the information. It does you no good to come to all these classes, learn all this information, and you don't do anything with it. All right. Again, today we're going to be talking about AI-powered solicitations. We're going to build off of last week's class. So if you didn't get a chance to see the recording for the members, it's in the membership portal. And for the guests that are visiting us this week, make sure that if you want access to the recordings and the prompts and everything else I'm going to show you here, make sure you look at how you can join our membership, where every week we go through these AI presentations and we learn how to use AI in the procurement world as well as operations. A lot of this is operations. As we know, nothing happens without supply chain. And so if it's an idea, it's still an idea until you put resources behind it. And that's what we provide to the table. Now, just for some overview of the class, remember that, if you have any questions, look down at the bottom or at the top, depending upon how you have your screen set up, where it says Q&A. That's where you want to ask your questions right here, because that's where I will see them. If we have a chat going, sometimes it gets buried down in the chat and you end up not seeing it. So we definitely want to make sure that we use it when we can. All right, let's get started here. Okay, so AI-powered solicitations, competitive offer, and evaluations. This is going to be about preparing a solicitations for a competitive bid. Now, what we left off with last week is we went through developing a specification with a statement of work. And towards the end, we actually built an RFP. So we're going to back up, look at the statement of work, and actually go into building an RFP that's compliant. I'm going to show you lots of different tools to make sure it's compliant, correct. It makes it easier to write, and you're able to go through the process. And then we're going to do some evaluation based on some vendor responses that I created to help illustrate how to use these platforms for evaluation. So we'll talk about preparing solicitations, competitive bidding, and procurement standards. When we do this, we're communicating a product or service. We're going to define exactly what it is, what we need it to do, and what it needs to look like, the quality, the technical specifications. Avoid any vague language that can help us get too many responses. As we used to say, and we do research, the more specific the question, the more specific the answer. If it's too broad, we spend a lot of time researching, and we're never find exactly what the person is looking for. So we want to make sure we have a very clear specification, which is why we started last week with the statement of work, so that we have a very clear specification. And then we use that SOW to build out the RFP. Now, what are the different types of solicitations? We have the RFQ, request for quote, which we're going to use for an excavator that we built last week. We have the request for proposal, which is more of a technical, or you're not really certain about what solution you're looking for. So you're going to have the vendors propose solutions that you're going to evaluate based on the criteria that you feel is most important. You have an invitation for a bid, where you make sure certain vendors are participating because they're qualified, either based on size, based on experience, based on certifications. In other words, they have to have an invitation to bid. And then informal quotes, which a lot of times we use that off the cuff. Hey, I need something now, or something that's in that routine area where there's lots of different vendors, lots of ways to get that solution. So just like send an email, hey, send me your best quote for this item, send it to 3 or 5 different vendors, get the response back. Usually lowest, most acceptable, lowest, best, lowest, acceptable, then that's what we use, right? And it just depends upon what we're looking to build out and what we're trying to do. Okay, now we have bidders conferences. Now, these are very good in the construction area or something that's highly technical, where you're going to bring the vendors an opportunity to sit in front of you, the specification, maybe the customer, the person who's coming up with a specification, to answer specific questions. And you give them documents, you let them review those documents. They come with questions, and it helps make sure that everyone has the same amount of information that allows them to be successful and give you a formal bid that makes sense. And this is a lot of times where vendors will disqualify themselves based on certain questions. They'll realize they're not able to compete. They're not able to do certain things, so they'll just stop out. That was my experience when we did a bidders conference on a human resources system. We did the bidders conference. We had 4 vendors starting. At the end of that conference, we had 2. And that means that those other 2 said, hey, this is not what we thought it was. We're not going to be competitive in this arena. So they just dropped out, because putting together RFPs also take time and money. Now, terms and conditions. So when you start to put together your SOW, or should I say your RFP or RFQ, you're going to have terms and conditions. Sometimes these terms or conditions are standard for your agency, for your state, municipality, your company, and they're just terms and conditions that basically tell us how we're going to do business, right? We have bonding, which is ways to protect ourselves. A lot of times companies or you use bonds to ensure that a company is qualified to participate, right? We'll have a performance bond where if for some reason they're not able to perform the contract, then the bond kicks in to make sure that the contract gets completed. Why is that important? Because the bonding companies don't issue bonds to high-risk companies. So if it's a high-risk company, they may say, we're not going to issue a bond, or they make it so expensive that it's cost prohibitive and they're not going to win anyway. Indemnifications, these are those clauses at the end of a contract, which you would look at in regards to terms and conditions. And we actually have a set that we're going to look at today. And what's great about AI is you can take 20, 30, 100 pages of documents and it will read it instantly and make it work for you, which is really cool. So instead of spending hours trying to read these terms and conditions, you just kind of go through and make sure that it makes sense. And it kind of goes through there. Okay. Then we have insurance and service level agreements. We also have a service level agreement, but that's not the RFQ we're doing today. That's a more complicated instance, which through my research, I found some really cool tools, which we'll touch on towards the end, because we're going to talk about building agents within Copilot, autonomous agents, agents that can respond to emails, can write the big, deep, dark documents with all the details. And it's been really interesting to see how that works as well, which has been really cool. Okay, bonds. We talked about bonds, the bid bond, performance bond, payment bond, bid bond. Make sure that they can bid, where if they don't honor the bid, then it gives the money to redo the solicitation. Performance bond, make sure that they can perform the contract itself. And then a payment bond, we see this a lot in construction as well. And that's where if the prime contractor doesn't pay the subcontractors, that payment bond kicks in to make sure those subcontractors get paid, right? So if the prime doesn't do their job, doesn't bid appropriately, ends up not paying the subcontractors, this protects you, the buyer, to ensure that those subcontractors actually get paid. They actually get paid, right? Okay, so that's really good. Now, common solicitation issues, things that come up. You have late or incomplete bids. When you have good instructions, then you don't have these issues. So this is where using AI can make sure you create compliant and good SOWs and RFPs, which you're going to see in the RFP we created earlier. I practiced it, so I have an example if the technology blows up on us, which happens, right? It happens whenever we use technology and count on it, it ends up blowing up on us. But I have an example ready, but we want to build it inside the different tools. Technical specs are too restrictive or brand specific, which a lot of companies will use that as a way to limit competition. And the evaluation criteria is not published or inconsistently applied, which creates a protest, which ultimately means it's going to take a lot longer to award that contract. I'm sure we all have stories about protests that were not fun to participate in. Then we're going to roll into our evaluating the competitive offers. As I mentioned, I created some offers that we're going to receive from our excavator. We're going to bring those in, and we are going to evaluate those and see how the AI helps us go through there and come up with a decision rather quickly and accurately in accordance with our proposal, and create award letters, all kinds of things with the templates that I found. And I'll talk about those here in a second. We'll verify compliance, evaluate the score, and then we'll end up selecting a winner. Now, what's the benefit of doing this? And I want to talk about this here in a second, okay? And let me stop sharing. I want to make sure we understand. I'll come back to this in a second. Okay, the reason this is important, and so we say here, my camera, let's back that up a little bit. All right, perfect. Like, oh my God, Randy, your face. But the reason it's important, and you are all here, and I really appreciate you spending the time with me this afternoon to learn more about how to do these things, is you start to expand your work team by creating AI agents that can do work of people, things that are transactional and things. Just imagine that whole evaluation process where you go through and you interview your experts, you come up with evaluation criteria, you come up with specifications, you build all that out, you put it into an AI agent, and then you just drop the vendors in there and say, give me an answer. Now, I'm simplifying it quite a bit, but that's the point, is that if you have an agent built out, the time it takes to find your experts, schedule the experts to sit in a room, go through the proposals in detail, for you to go through the proposals just to weed out people who are non-compliant, right? That's a big piece in and of itself. All that takes time. And when you have agents set up, you're able to do it without you, where you just have to check in on the agents. You can do it faster, and you can do it without the team because they set the specs. You bring all that stuff in. The AI evaluates the proposals and then says, here's the short list. Here's the reasons why we picked the short list, and make your decision, right? So we'll talk about that and how to do that as well. Okay. But again, I want to highlight the value of doing that because it makes a big difference to make sure that you're successful for the long term. All right, let's go back here. Let's catch up. All right, cool. Go back here. All right, cool. So we're going to evaluate our competitive. What this is showing us here on this slide is that weighted criteria based on what you think is most important. You come up with the weight, and then you score out your vendors. Receiving and analyzing offers, you make sure they're timestamped, and with email coming into Copilot, you have that timestamp right there. It can be brought right into a folder, get an initial evaluation to check it for completeness and compliance. The agent can do all that, right? If it's not compliant, it can reject it, right? And send them a letter saying, hey, you submitted, it was late, it was not compliant, this is why it wasn't compliant. You can set that up to write the email as a draft that you review and approve. And if you agree with it, then you can send it. But still, all that time is saved. And then it's all consistently across, because AI agents don't know your vendors. They don't care about your vendors. They just know the criteria that you set. And based on that criteria, it's making decisions. Again, it can go through these evaluations, these responses from the vendors, and determine whether or not it's responsive to your RFP, right? Cross-functional analysis, this is where you can build agents, technical agents, operational agents, legal agents, consensus, right? You can build out agents, one agent for each one of these areas. You have a technical agent, AI agent that understands just the technical stuff. You have an operational that can evaluate the business, its history, its compliance history, its ability to perform the actual work. And then legal to make sure that the contract terms make sense. Each one of these would be a separate function that you would consider and build, right? So you build a legal bot, you would build an operations bot, you'd build a technical bot, and they would focus on those specific things. You do the operational analysis, any site issues, equipment versatility, training and support. And this is showing us our excavator, which is going to be our example today, building off of last week's example. So this is where the operational analysis say, hey, there's operational issues that we need to be worried about. Does it work on a cemetery? Does it need to work between buildings? What does the mini excavator need to do? And what kind of training or support guarantees or warranties are you going to get? Do your cost analysis, look at other criteria, like it's going to deliver it on time. Do you have the appropriate support? Is it going to give you training? Include all of that in your price analysis. That would be the cost analysis, the business analysis, which again, you can build a bot to analyze that stuff. Okay. Are they capable based on past performance, their financial strength, and operational capability? Now, financial strength is one of those areas that you can build a bot that would tap into, like Dun & Bradstreet or other credit bureaus, to let you know, hey, is this company financially stable? Can it meet your needs? And it can do that automatically, which could be another reason to disqualify a vendor, right? And make sure that they're good to go. And then transportation terms. Now, this is one, I'll take a few minutes on this one. This is one that kind of caught people, or could have caught people off guard here based on the tariff situation. And I remember this story popped up when the tariffs started coming out, and there were all these shipments moving across the water, right? When they were arriving in port, there were going to be all these huge tariffs sitting there waiting, right? So the way you negotiate transportation terms, FOB, all the different transportation terms, I'm not sure, there's like 9 or 10 of them. It basically tells you who's responsible for the costs, who's responsible for the losses, the buyer or the seller. And one of the stories that popped up, and you can research this, is that all of a sudden there were loads getting pushed off the ship, right? Basically, they were being lost at sea by, purposefully or not purposely, otherwise being lost at sea. Like, well, who's going to pay for those items, right? The reason they were lost at sea is because the cost of the item, the value of the item was less than the cost of the tariffs. So believe it or not, it made business sense to dump it at sea because they were going to incur that loss. Now, that's based on terms. So that's something you want to pay attention to. Who's responsible for the cost of moving something, responsible for the loss of moving something? If something's lost in transit, when do you pick up the cost as a buyer? When do you pick up responsibility as a buyer? And if you're using a 3PL, you do a lot of shipments, then that would be something that you would want to work with. And a lot of people will do 3PL where they just pick it up right there when it arrives on port. That's at that point, they've negotiated such great rates with their 3PL logistics providers that they say, we'll take it from here. Well, that works. But then when they start pushing that off, then you start having problems there. Right? So just something to think about, something to be concerned about, and just to be aware of, so you don't get yourself in trouble or find that you're in trouble, right? For something that you didn't want to happen. Okay, very good. Okay, let's go back down here. Let's move through this. I know I advanced through these things. Transportation terms. Okay, other factors, sustainability, of course, green, vendor diversity, value added extras, all these things are evaluated. And when we have small business programs where we have socioeconomic goals, such as veteran-owned business, woman-owned business, minority-owned business, 8A set-asides, Native American businesses. All of these are socioeconomic programs, which are great because that's how government gets money into the economy without giving away, just giving money into the economy. They use business because when you hire one person, it builds 12 other jobs in the local community. That's why they're such great programs. Now, we're going to follow the scale methodology as we walk through today's area. And the scale methodology is state the problem, C, collect the data, A, assess the appropriate AI platform, L, launch the prompt development process, and we use AI to develop our prompts, and then we execute the project. Starting with state the problem. Stating the problem is you want to make sure the problem is as clear as possible, as specific as possible. And the way to think about this is if you had an assistant and you just told them, hey, here's a problem, go solve it. If it's too broad, they don't know how to help. They don't have the experience, they don't have the knowledge, or even if they are a walking encyclopedia, they don't know where to focus their attention. And that's why you want to make sure you start with stating the problem to make sure that your problem is as clear and as focused as possible. So here, define the operational needs, such as we have an excavator that is costing too much in maintenance, it needs to be replaced, it was destroyed in a storm, whatever it is. Either way, we need an excavator, right? And we're going to align it with our mission goals, fleet renewal compliance. Maybe we have to renew our fleet every 3 or 5 years. So that was a reason. And identify any constraints, emissions, footprint, schedule. And in this case, we have an excavator for a graveyard, which means the excavator has to move between headstones. And when it's working, it can't knock headstones over, right? So that's specifications, which we built out last week. We have that statement of work, which we're going to show here in a second. Then we collect the data. What data? We do market research, which we did last week. And then here also think about the templates you need, RFP templates, compliance templates, manuals, regulations that you need to review and look at. I've got a whole bunch now. I went, and this is really cool. I found it was actually the state of Idaho had a complete list of all the documents you could possibly ever need. I brought all those together. So they will be in the membership site, so you can have those. There's like, I want to say 20 or 30 documents. Templates already going that you can change happy to glad, their name to your name, or at least use as a model moving forward, right? And if you don't have your own templates, a lot of us have our own templates, and then you can use these and kind of bounce back and forth. But either way, my point being is I need data about the item. I need my own templates or examples to write the SOWs, the RFPs, the contracts, award criteria, the letters. I need all those examples that I can use. And that helps us go through this quickly because the AI reads it and moves through it very quickly. Then we, again, key documents and templates. We have our RFQ template, nice eye chart here. Let's see, can I do that? No, I'm not gonna do that. All right, cool. Back up. So here's the RFQ templates, evaluation plan from the RFP, which we will build, and our proposal format checklist. We have a checklist that we go through to make sure that's compliant, which means you write your RFP, you have your checklist, you drop the RFP with the checklist into the AI, so you review it for compliance with the checklist, and it goes through and it tells you exactly what's good and what's not good. Okay. Then you want to assess and choose the AI tool. We're looking at 2 platforms. We have Copilot. We're using MS Word, possibly Excel, Outlook, Teams meeting, which we did that last week. So now we're really going to be in our database, our drive, share drive with our templates and our Word documents and Excel spreadsheets. That's where we're going to focus today. And ChatGPT, when you use a project, and I'm going to show you both. So you have that knowledge. I'm going to show you how to do Copilot, and then I'm going to show you how to do ChatGPT. And then based on whichever solution you have access to and compliance to use, you can use these, then you can use one. As well as one, they both have different values that can help you as well. Okay. Then you launch the AI workflow. This is where you use the prompts, which we have in the membership area, all the prompts that you need. And it's a starting point. It's an example. And I use AI to develop my prompts. And I'm going to show you in Copilot where there's a prompt building tool. And I'm also going to show you in ChatGPT where there's a prompt building tool. because a prompt is the instructions you're telling the AI to execute to solve your stated problem, right? And just think again of a human assistant. Had you hired an assistant, the better the instructions, the better the result they're going to give you. Same thing with AI. So if you always think of AI as a human assistant, then you will understand how to talk to it, how to speak to it, how to train it, because AI must be trained as well, right? And that's one of the things we use. We train it there. Then we launched in the AI development process. We come up with our different terms based on our examples. We have examples. If you don't have examples, AI can help you generate it. But when you have an example, it just gives you a much better result. And then it can also help create communication, write emails for you. And as you build agents, which we're going to do much later in the summer, as we're building out our summer program here, much later in the summer, we're going to build some agents that will receive emails, read the emails based on documents that you have in folders, respond to those emails, and send them through. The great thing about Copilot versus ChatGPT, Copilot, everything I just said is inherent within Microsoft 365. So you don't have to try and connect all these different communication platforms and data platforms and shared drives. Where in ChatGPT, you have to drop in files, you have to create projects, you have to connect the programs to your email programs and other things, as well as it's not as secured, or it's not perceived to be as secured as Copilot. Okay, so that's the difference there. Okay, then we execute the project. That's when we actually execute our prompts and we start to go through the process. So as we're going through the process, just like you have an assistant, you're going to ask it a question. It's going to go out, get you answers. It's going to come back. It's going to present the answers to you. You're going to look at those answers and say, very good, or not so good, or whichever, right? And then from there, you're going to massage it and give it more direction, just like you would an assistant. What I mean by this is it's not going to be necessarily perfect the first time you see it. And it always, you must have human judgment engaged in the process when you use AI. Even when we build these agents that will respond on your behalf, you can set things up to where those draft emails come into your inbox and you review before they're sent. Okay, but that's a conversation for a different day. Okay, now we're getting ready to start our demo here in a minute, so everyone get ready. And what we're going to do is focus on the mini excavator that we picked up last week. Last week, we got the specification from a user, from an email. We had an email. Based on the email, we set up a Teams meeting or a meeting in Zoom. Either way, we recorded and transcribed that meeting to answer questions. We took their transcription, brought it into our documents. So based on the transcription, write a statement of work, which we sent back to the customer to verify and validate what they really want. Then based on the statement of work, we did market research, deep research, which found upwards of 25 pages of market research. And then from there, we started to build out an RFP. Okay, so we did that. That's what we did last week. And now we're starting to build out this. We're going to finalize the SOW, draft our RFQ, issue it to our vendors. We have different letters, collect and clarify, score and award, and validate post-award checklist, as long as we get that far. All right. Now, key takeaways is main point for today is understand the scale framework, state the problem, collect the data, assess the AI platform you want to use, launch the prompt building process, and then execute the project. Always follow those 5 steps, and no matter what the use case may be, you can adapt AI to help. Okay, we're going to use our excavator and some Idaho templates, and I'm going to show you all this good stuff. ChatGPT and Copilot, we're going to walk through it, and then we're going to process the documents based on some things there. Okay, now let's get started here. Before we move forward, are there any questions? Are there any questions? Okay, go ahead and think of some questions. You can type it in the Q&A right there. Okay, Michelle has her hand up. Let's go ahead and go, Michelle. We'll stop sharing our question. All right, sharing here. Okay, stop presenting. All right, Michelle, let me go ahead and unmute you. See if I can allow a mic. And you can unmute, and I can give you the camera. I'll let you have the camera if you want it. So go ahead, please answer your questions, and you can type it or ask it. Go ahead. You'll probably unmute, so you may need to unmute you.
There we go. Randy, just wondering, where do we find those Idaho templates?
They will be in the membership area. I haven't dropped them yet, but I'm ready to show you all that good stuff.
Okay,
great question.
Thank
you. Okay, anyone else? Any other questions? All right. Cool. All right, cool. Very good. All right, now we're getting excited. All right, come over here, right there. All right, let's go in here. All right, we are transitioning to share my screen. And we go here. I'm going to share my screen. One of the things I've learned, okay, I got this. Go here, share my window. Here. Share that right there. Make sure you can see that. View. All right. Speaker. Good. All right. Okay. Now, this is OneDrive inside Microsoft 365. Last week, we talked through it. Okay. Here you have Copilot right here. You have Copilot down here. Okay. And you're right here is another place where you get Copilot right here. Okay. You can see that. And the difference is there's different versions. This is the Microsoft 365 Copilot that is integrated into the work applications, your instance of Microsoft 365. You may or may not have this turned on for your agency. So you want to check with your IT guys to make sure that you have it turned on or that you need it. Okay, it's about $30 extra per month per person to use it. So as you get started, you want to make sure that you prove out the value of this, and you're going to see today, is it worth $30 a month? Just imagine the cost of an assistant, how much you would pay them a month when you think about the hourly, the insurance benefits, all that other stuff. Okay, big difference. Okay, you have work. When you have work here, let me zoom in my screen so you guys can see a little bit better. Well, all right, cool. Okay, so work means it's connected to all your other apps, and they're already shared. How do you see that? You come in here, you come over here, you can actually add content, see these people, me, files, all the different files, all the prompts, all this meetings. We have meetings, emails, all the different emails, all this stuff. It's all connected to your Microsoft 365 applications. And you can search for those here as well. And then the web is very, very similar to ChatGPT in that you're using the web. It's going out and grabbing stuff from the web to answer your questions, right? Okay. Over here, this tells you it's secure. Enterprise data protection, which means that everything you talk about on Copilot, everything here is contained within your server, within your instance of 365, which gives you the security different from ChatGPT. When you have ChatGPT, everything is publicly shared in the large language model to help train it unless you turn it off. With Microsoft 365, everything is automatically contained in that instance, so it doesn't share it to train the large language model, which gives you that added security that we're looking for. Okay, from here, different settings. And then over here, there's a couple things to look at. These are the agents. So we talk about agents, okay? The ones you want to look for, researcher. This is where it does the deep research. We did last week, we did the deep competitive market research here. We went through and we researched all that here. We pulled that in. We got, I think, 15 pages from this, and it ended up with a recommendation here. So here, where's it? Right here. This was the result of our research last week. So you can see it went through and said, based on the statement of work, gave you some introduction, all the requirements, the suitable excavator models, all the different models that were out there, the key specifications, the table notes, detailed comparison by criteria. So it's actually looking at the dollars already. Okay, performance capability. You can see a lot of information. What I liked about this compared to ChatGPT when we did it is at the very end, okay, because you guys can see all this, is it says here, final recommendation. It actually gave us a recommendation. Doesn't mean we have to take it, right? but it gave us a recommendation. Like, all right, we got something to move forward with. Okay, let's go back to Copilot. Okay, so that's researcher. That's where you can do your market research. You can find information about vendors. You can find information about compliance. You can find information about the market. Okay, all these different things. Okay, analyst. We haven't talked about this yet, but analyst is where you drop in large data sets, those Excel spreadsheets. You can drop in here and it'll analyze the data, right? It'll say, what trends do you see in the uploaded files? Which variables can correlate how much? This is deep insight that you normally wouldn't get. So this is the analyst piece. Now, the other things, you have other agents right here. Okay, and the reason I'm showing you, again, my whole goal here is to teach you how to fish, show you all the different tools. If you choose to join our community, great. We'll hit these stuff every week. If not, it's okay. You're going to go away from this and you're going to be smarter and better able to serve your organization. Okay, and these are all the different apps, and these apps are already built by other experts who have shown us how to do the work, right here. So we have built by Microsoft. These are the ones that are inherent inside the system. And here you got the prompt coach and how you add this. This is where, remember I said we use AI to help build out our prompts. This is what we have here. This is a prompt coach that tells you how to write a better prompt. So you don't have to go through a prompt engineering class, right? You don't have to spend an afternoon, a morning, or whatever. If you can intuitively start to ask it questions, then you can walk through it. So you just click it, add it. It's going to add it, and that way it will help us build out the prompts, right? As you can see here, now it's available. So if I want a prompt, which we have some examples, but we'll bring them in here and we'll massage them. We're going to make them better. Okay. So that's one. And then here, create agents. This is where you start to create the agents that can do the things I was describing earlier. An email comes in, the agent looks at the email, reads the email, can receive your vendor proposals, read those proposals. If they're compliant, it can send them back out. They can keep them, whatever it is. And then we're going to talk about this later in the summer, and we're going to get much smarter about this. But I'm not going to talk about it here. I'm just teasing you a little bit. I apologize. No, I don't really, because it's a good tease. Okay, but go in here and configure. You got different templates already built out that can help you work through things. You can change this, come up with a name, a description. You give it instructions, knowledge. These are the files that you drop in, right? So these are different files that we have. Okay. And so these will be files I can put in there, meeting notes I can put in there, other places we can go look. You can drop in some knowledge. We can put in URLs from public websites. So if you have a public website that's always maintained and up to date, you can drop that URL in here, and it will read those URLs and it'll keep that knowledge up to date. Why is that important? Okay. I went to a website, I downloaded a bunch of templates. Those templates are as good as they are today. 12 months from now, they might be updated. They might be, replaced by something more up to date. So think of HR policy, compliance policies and laws, different things. That's where you might put a URL here because that's constantly up to date. Okay. So think about that. Here, code interpreter, this is the one that allows you to read data. So if you were to drop in an Excel spreadsheet and you didn't have this turned on, it's not going to read it. Okay. Where once you turn it on, it's going to be able to read it. It's going to be able to work things out. Same thing with an image generator. Okay. This is where it actually generates graphics, tables, things that you want to do, dashboards, other things. Yeah. And these are starter prompts. These are things to get you started. Okay. So we're about this. How do you get started? Say, I never did this before ever in my life. It's like, okay, I want to create an agent that will evaluate RFPs. Boom. Okay. Now she's thinking, and it's going through, and it's starting to create this. RFP evaluator, an agent designed to evaluate RFPs based on predefined criteria, providing detailed and unbiased feedback, and ensuring confidentiality, consistency in the evaluation process. Right. And now, how should the agent handle situations where RFP criteria are unclear and incomplete? So now it's asking me, right? Imagine you had hired an assistant to be an RFP evaluator, and they would just ask you this question. How should an agent handle situations where RFP criteria is unclear and incomplete? You would respond with, you would go to the evaluation criteria, you would go to the SOW, you would go to the RFP, where it have very clear criteria on what we need to look at. If you're uncertain, then ask me. If we are uncertain together, then we'll reach out to the customer to get more clarity on that item. So we're going to start walking through and building this agent, which allows you to work through it. And once it gets started here, come over here to configure. All that stuff that was blank before, now it's filled in, right? Now it's filled in. Now I can drop in my knowledge. If I want to drop in my knowledge, I can upload it here if I want. I can do all kinds of good stuff and work through it. All this stuff is filled in. Okay, that's for another day. Drafted. We're going to close that out. And so there are researcher agents right there. Work through that. Okay, Copilot here. Okay, so here I can come through, and then you have your normal Copilot, which is a lot of what we'll do today. Now, that's Copilot. The other thing I want to show you here is we have Outlook. This is where the emails come in, right? You receive responses from your vendors. Okay, it's coming up. That's why I say it always looks like this. Okay, so you have all this emails coming in, and I created an instant just for this class, so it's not an active where you're seeing all kinds of conversations coming in. It's already putting it here together. Come over here. You also have your OneDrive, and Michelle asked, well, where's all the documents? This is where I put them, and this is what I recommend that you do. Okay, so what I did is I put in my files, and this is in the membership area, how to set up your file drive so it's organized. Okay, and this is the kit. It's a downloadable zip procurement project, and it has examples of stuff to put in there. These aren't real images. You're trying to open them, they go nowhere, but it kind of gives you a structure on how to organize your OneDrive or your shared drive so that you can tap into it, right? And you say, why is that important? You'll see that here in a second. Okay, so template tools, this is here for today. We have our state of Idaho templates. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to zip all these and drop them in the membership area. And what we have here, we have compliance. This is the law, all these different things here. We have contract management, amendments, state of Idaho terms and conditions, instructions. We put together invitation to bid. So it has all the forms for an invitation to bid, letters, questionnaires, goods and services, those type of things. We've got the request for quote, which we're going to use today. All this information is all this stuff is here for you. And it's for the state of Idaho. I understand. So, but it gives you a starting place. If you don't have these templates, you can develop these templates without a problem. All right. Request for exemptions. Put all this here. Okay. I like this one here. Emergency purchasing authority. That'll get you in trouble real quick, won't it? Request for proposals. Those more complex RFPs, more documents here, as well as sample agreements. So they already have agreements, contracts already put together that you can put together here. And then here, these are all the forms that you can see, all from the state of Idaho. Again, I'm going to zip these, put them in the membership, and you're going to have all access to this, as well as you can just go to the Idaho website and download these yourself, right? Either way works for me. Want to make sure you have access to them. And there's a couple of other sites, states that do similar things. They have all their forms available for you. Okay. Copilot here, go back up to here, go to Word. That's where we have our documents. Now I can go here. I can start with a blank document. I can open this up and say, okay, what do we have here? I got a blank document. Go over to Copilot. Right here, I can add this. Okay, we do that, or you can do a flash sign, which will open that up as well. So here I can go in, do SOW. Notice SOW is already here. Okay, open it. Say based on the SOW. Based on the SOW, be attached SOW. Create an RFP based on the example. Well, we're going to do an RFQ on this one, RFQ example. Okay, so we'll write this up to RFQ. Okay, where's my example, right? Say, okay, so if I go here, slash, now I do RFQ. See how it's already here? I already have that there, but I have a template. Where's my template? Here's my template, RFQ template. Boom. Okay. And go in and say go. Okay. So notice how little information I gave it, right? It's going through and now it's starting to write out the RFQ. Okay, it's taking a statement of work that we built last week. So if you haven't seen that class, again, for our visitors who are joining us today, thank you for joining us, learning how we do business. So when you join as a member, you get access to all the replays, and we've been doing replays, or we've been doing classes since February. So it's probably about only 15 classes in there ready to go. Okay, so here we have a nice simple RFQ. We can take this, and it doesn't install it in the Word documents when we're doing it this way. However, when you build the agents that I alluded to earlier, it'll actually create the detailed Word document. You'll say, create this, and it'll send you an email saying it's done. Okay, so here's the RFQ. Now, the next step, right? RFQ, before we send it out, we want to make sure that it's compliant. Review the RFQ for compliance based on the following. All right, compliance. Okay, IT compliance guide. Go back to my OneDrive. I got my compliance documents here. Now I have them actually here. So I'm going to contract administration management guidance. We're here. Contract. Messed it up. Admin. Oh no, it's not showing up. That's okay. Why? Because I can do it here. I can add it here. Attach. I can actually come in, upload it. Document from the device, which I have here, which is over here. I'm showing you the sausage, right? This is what it all looks like. Okay, go here. Got my Idaho documents here. State of Idaho. Here we go. All right, compliance. And I want to use this document right here. Okay, I can do this one, 2, or 3. Here's the desk manual. I'm going to go with this one. Okay, now I'm going to do local laws manual. Okay, document. Tell me what is not compliant, why it's not compliant, and what do I need to do to make it compliant. Okay, so now it's going through and it's reading that document. Like, Randy, well, how big is that document? That document, let's see, we open it up. Having say, okay, how quickly did it take to read it? Here. Let's do this one. Very cool. So this is 75 pages, right? 75 pages. It went through and it read through that document and it said, okay, here we go. Sure, I can help with that. Indemnification call, non-compliance. The RFQ does not include indemnification call. Reason, Idaho law requires public agency to indemnify. Suggestion, include a clause that states, Anti-boycott against Israel Act, non-compliance, reason, suggestion, ownership, operation by China, non-compliance, reason, suggestion, no public funds for abortion act, non-compliance, reason, suggestion, public records law, employment, bona fide Idaho. Great. Now, thank you. Based on your findings, rewrite the RFQ. So now it's going through based on those findings, and I'm doing a very simple example, and I apologize if it's too simple. I'm again demonstrating, one, how quickly did it read through a 75-page document and identify non-compliant issues with suggestions on how to fix it. Now, to rewrite it, it's going through and it's rewriting all that information. Okay. Response, list of attachments, exhibit price sheets, and then it's going through and it's now starting to write in your indemnification clause, your anti-boycott, ownership operations, all these different items here. Good to go. I would copy and paste this. And that's right here. Control C. Okay, select all. Now a little bit better. Here we go. Come on, man. like this. Control V. All right, cool. So now we've built this out. So again, it went from like a 2-page document, now a 4-page document. It's more compliant. And I can go through this again and again and again to make sure that it's compliant and it's good to go, right? And from here, you can go through and you can post it, you can paste it. So then you would receive vendor communication, and they would come in and they would look at these things. All right. So is this starting to make sense? Again, if you have any questions, we have a question in the chat. Okay, I can help you summarize discussions, create actionable tasks. Oh, this is our Firefly. Diana, I'm taking. Thanks, Diana. Yeah, our Firefly. No worries. So, but going back to any questions that you might consider. Okay, cool. Michelle has a question. Michelle, do you still have a question? Let me go ahead and unmute you. On mic. Okay, you have the mic.
Hey, Randy.
So
So we really like what you're showing us, but it's definitely pretty fast. We're not
Okay.
sure where to download those documents. I don't know if there's more things we need to look at beforehand. I mean, we've been following along and doing the activities before, but we're kind of missing. I feel like we're missing out on some stuff. The Q&A is not working, and you said to use that instead of the
I appreciate
chat.
that.
And I can't chat or use Q&A. So that's why you're getting my hand up. I'm sorry.
No, I wish I'd known earlier. We would have fixed it. So it's working or trying to work. Either way. So great question. Where do I find all these documents? How do we prepare for class so that we can better prepare for class? Again, I apologize for the weekend. We had a holiday weekend, so I didn't send out a lot of information. But usually on Fridays, you'll receive an email or a notification in the community. They'll say, this is what we're going to talk about next week. Where you get that is you come in, you access change skills right here, come over here, and I'm going to do this on my Firefox here. Let me change this and stop sharing here. And I'm going to walk you through the membership portal here. Okay, so share
Thank
screen
you.
and where you absolutely. Again, I apologize here. So I'm going over here, share. And this is the training site. Then we go to access.change skills. Okay. So once you come over here, you come in and you log in right here. And you're going to log in. It's going to bring you to your community. Now, there's a few communities that we have here. Usually, you'll come right in here. And this is it's a dummy account. It's me. No pun intended. But again, on Friday, if I don't get it on Friday, first thing Monday, you'll see this announcement right here. And that this will tell you this is what we're going to talk about this week. These are the lessons in the CPSM to go look at. So when you join the community at the annual level, the 12-month level, you get access to the CPSM certification training, in addition to the AI master classes. So you want to go and look at these lessons, just kind of prepare and get ready for the training, right? Kind of gives you an idea what we're going to talk about. A lot of what I talked about in the beginning was going through that content. And then I just want to show you what we're going to learn. And this is a lab, an experience class to where we're just looking at stuff and we're making things work. Okay. So here, and this is where you'll find discussion. Feel free to post, comment, ask your questions. I check it at least once a day. I'll respond to those questions. If other people see and want to respond, that's great. That's what a community is for. We start to build this together and we start to learn together. And if you notice, when you go out and look at AI, nobody's talking about supply chain, procurement, operations. They're all talking about marketing and making videos and pictures and all these other things, right? So we're kind of in the forefront, the beginning of putting this stuff together, okay? So this is the community area. So here is the waffle. This is where you're going to see the communities, the courses, which we'll talk about in a second, and then affiliates for that. But then the other piece you want to know is discussion, and then here are the events. The events are the different classes we have here. It gives you the link to come to class, and this is a dynamic link that I change based on the platform we're using, right? So it could be Teams, it could be Zoom, it could be some other platform. Could be LinkedIn. It could be whatever it is. This is where you're going to come to this link for this class. This link right here, Change Skills Masterclass, is going to lead you right to where it needs to go. So you don't have to worry about any other link. So if you want to create a schedule in your calendar every week, this class at this time, and put this link here, which is Change Skills Masterclass, Change Skills / Masterclass. It goes right there. Okay. The other thing is office hours. On Friday from 3 to 4 is office hours, and that's an opportunity to come in and ask any question you want about anything you want. Okay. It could be about the class. It could be you're working a AI problem and you're not getting through, you're getting stuck. Then we'll work it together and we'll solve it. It's scheduled for an hour. If we go longer, that's okay. I stay online for about 15 minutes. If nobody shows up in 15 minutes, I got other things to do. It's a Friday, right? But I commit my Friday afternoons to you and whatever you need. So make sure you leverage that to help you be successful, right? Okay. And if there's any other events, again, you'll see that here. All right. Leaderboard, this is for people that start to participate and go in there. You can start to have a little bit of competition and go through there. Now let's talk about the courses. So when you come over here to courses, you're going to have access to all the courses that you have under your membership. If you're on the monthly program, all you have is the CPSM AI Masterclass, where you just get access to these weekly classes, which we'll talk about here. If you go on the annual program or you're in the CPSM certification training, you get access to all the CPSM certification training. This is the boot camp here, which will tell you how to prepare for and pass the CPSM certification. And then each one of these is one exam in the CPSM certification. So CPSM exam 1 is supply management core. CPSM exam 2 is supply management integration. CPSM exam 3 is leadership and transformation in supply management. Why is certification important? Certification is important because when you have CPSM, CPPO, CSCP, whichever certification you choose to pursue, right? We teach CPSM, so of course we think that's the best certification, right? But whichever certification you choose to pursue, you have those initials. It demonstrates to the professional world that you have competence in your career field, that you've gone above and beyond what you've been doing on a regular basis to meet a standard set by an industry leader, which in this case is ISM. And here, in which certification should you pursue? Randy's advice: research your industry. Whichever certification your industry values, that is the certification you should pursue. You're going to invest a lot of time and a lot of money to get a certification, right? And the more expensive of the two is time. You don't want to spend a month, 2 months, 3 months studying to get certification and then have it not help you advance in your career, right? Where do these certifications start to pay off? When you start to get promoted, you may come in and start as an analyst. Now you're looking to become a manager or a director or further up the line. That's where we're going to look at certifications to demonstrate, okay, what does this person do above and beyond what everyone else is doing out there? Okay, now go back to here. Go back. So remember the announcement said task 1-A-9, 1-A-10, right? Okay, so you come in here, sourcing, which is 1, task 1-A, count down 9, 1, 2, there's 10 and 9. Open that up, and you'll see that this is task 1-A9. So this is the one you want to watch. About 8 minutes, kind of gives you a background on what we're going to talk about. And then what I do, okay, just so you kind of see how I prepare for this, is I take this and then I use AI to develop a class. How do we best use AI to support this task? And every week is something different. It's not always the same task. Try to keep it to an hour, right? Maybe an hour and a half. And the next hour is going to talk about ChatGPT, all right? And it helps you prepare, right? And all of this are best practices established by the Institute for Supply Management. So the concepts you're learning are based on theory. Then we take the artificial intelligence, the AI platforms, and we combine them. What this gives you as a professional is the ability to execute at Superman levels, right? And you'll see as you do these things again and again, and some of us who've been in the class for a while and can validate that we save major time using AI to get these things done. We've done entire RFPs from beginning to end in 30 minutes, which would have taken other people weeks to get done, right? So that's the value of participating in training and coming here to do that. Does that make sense? Is that helpful? Okay. And that walks through here, again, here, back to the waffle, come back to the communities, and come through here. Again, we're building this community. So if you know of other folks that you feel would benefit from this, have them reach out to me. We'll get them into this training and make sure that they are successful and come to this every week. So every week we're doing this. And so again, for our visitors, you get to watch, but you don't get the recordings of the prompts because that's in the membership area. So definitely join the membership area, get access to all this good stuff. Okay.
So Randy, show us that membership area.
Which one?
Where you said those documents would be downloaded.
Okay, perfect. So go over here to courses. Okay, come down here to AI masterclasses.
Yep.
Each week, I'll come into the weekly masterclass. I'll come here, and this was last week. All right, come over here. This is where the recording, which you're watching now, will be posted here. All the files will be over here.
Awesome. That's what I needed to see.
All those files will be here.
Perfect.
And I
Thank
give you everything. So you have presentation, you have the prompts, you have anything else that I can think of that I feel that you might find valuable. I put it in here. Hopefully you get overwhelmed and you show up on Friday for office hours. We can work through it. So, but it's all good stuff, but that's where you find it. So what we do is I take the meeting, I take a transcription of the meeting, I summarize it, gives you the bullets, tells you exactly what we talked about, different tasks at the end that you can follow up on. And then you come over here. Some people were asking, how do I mark complete? Just mark that complete. And then it starts to show that you're tracking. So for continuing education units, continuing education hours, any of that stuff, this is where you start to track those hours, right? You can complete all this stuff and get value for that. If you need a certificate, just let me know. What I'll do, I'll come in, I'll look at your membership. What have you done? We'll calculate the hours and we'll issue a continuing education hours, CEHs or CEQs for you so that you can turn those into your professional organization, whichever it may be. Okay. All right. Great question. I'm glad you asked it. I'm glad I was able to show that, demonstrate that to the group right here. All right, let's go through back over here. I'm gonna stop sharing. We're gonna come back. We're here. Share again. Here, window. All right. Great. Good questions. Thank you again. Don't know why Q&A is not working, but we're not going to worry about it. We're able to communicate. Anyone else has a question, please raise your hand. I don't know why chat's not working. A couple people have it in there. Hello. I don't know. If you see hello, definitely go in there and respond so we know the chat's working. That'll be good. All right, cool. Now, come back over here. We Copilot. We walked through Copilot pretty good. And again, I'm just touching on little bits of it. Where the value comes in is using the examples that you provided, and it starts going through this. Then you can use the compliance regulations to make sure you're compliant. Now, how do you do all this in ChatGPT? So this is ChatGPT. Why am I showing you Copilot and ChatGPT? Because everyone at this point has different access to different platforms. You may not have Microsoft 365 turned on in your Office application, so you won't be able to do everything I just showed you. ChatGPT has a means and a method of doing that right here. Okay, just to give you a quick orientation, once you log in, you'll come in, ChatGPT right here. This is a new chat, which is what you see right here. This thing right here closes that and opens that. These are the different models. Different models give you different capabilities, different reasoning capabilities. Some are better at math, some are better at reasoning, some are better at making pictures, all kinds of good stuff. Over here is the different plans, just to kind of touch in on that. This is the business plan where you have security, right? When they say here, when you have the business plan, it separates your instance from everyone else, so it doesn't automatically share your information with the larger global language model. And then the personal, you have the $20 a month and the $200 a month. I have tried the $200 a month. I didn't see the value. compared to the $20 a month. $20 a month was good enough. All right. Free is good. It's very capable, but you start getting limited on what you can and cannot do. All right. Let's come over here. A little bit more tasks. These are things that you can do for daily tasks. If you're responsible for the weather for your office, you can task it to look up the weather in your area. If you're responsible for searching fuel prices for your specific area, you can tell it to research that here. Every day it'll send you a notification. This for me, I get the daily tariff news on what's going on with the tariff. So every single day it sends me a quick signal, hey, what's going on? And I say, okay, and I read it. Okay, so that's where tasks come into place. My GPTs are similar to the agents we're going to build in Microsoft Copilot a little bit later in the summer. It's where you actually create and build your own ChatGPTs and go through the same process. Very similar to what I did. In the interest of time, I'm not going to go through it. If you want, you can go back to the previous recordings and we talk about how to build GPTs there. Here are customized my ChatGPT. This is where you teach the GPT how to communicate with you. And what I did here, notice here, I added these 2 lines because the AI is meant to support you and make you feel good. That's kind of a simple way, but it's there to be a companion, right? And what I did is added these 2 bullets, realistic and challenging. Don't just agree, offer counterpoints, and no yes man mode. None of that stuff. Okay. All right. Oh, thanks, Mary. I appreciate it. So we know the chat is working. Thank you. Okay, cool. So this enables for new chat. So it picks it up from where it is. And then anything it needs to know about you. So this is where you get to smile at you. Let's say, good morning, Randy. How are you? Use my first name, all that good stuff here. Okay. And then here's different settings. This data control right here is where you secure your instance of ChatGPT on the public side. Improve the model for everyone is right here. So if you turn it on, it shares all your information, all your chats, anything you upload. If you upload vendor information that's supposed to be secure, the big model is going to get that. If you have this turned on, sharing everywhere. If you don't want to share that information, you turn it off. Okay, you turn it off. Another method for securing this is simply to sanitize your RFP proposals. What does that mean? What we would do is we would have the vendors submit 2 proposals. One had all of their information, all the names, marketing information, all that good stuff. And then the other was what we call sanitized. It had company XYZ. It did not have any identifying information whatsoever in there so that we could sanitize it. So the people evaluating it, in this case, the agents, AI agents evaluating it, would know who those vendors are, nor would it add to the large language model there, right? Does that make sense? So that's where you want to do that right here. Okay, so it's all really good. No, I did not block Michelle. No, did I block her on purpose? Nope, I did, but I apologize, Michelle. I didn't mean to block you, but please keep asking questions. Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, you guys are messing with me. It's awesome. I love it. Okay, builder profile, connected apps. These are all different apps you can connect to it. Notice here you can connect it to Google Drive, OneDrive, or all these different things. That's where ChatGPT has access or can interact with your files on your shared drive. That's another way for security in as well here. Okay, and then this is your subscription. Okay, now the magic in what we're talking about today. These are all a couple of things I want to show you. Then I'm going to show you the magic. Here are GPTs. GPTs are very similar to agents here. Okay, so Microsoft has all these different agents. ChatGPT has all these different GPTs. They call them GPTs here. And you can see here, they've already been written by people that spent time creating the instructions and working through them. Okay, productivity, research and analysis, education. They're all basically people have gone in and created the instructions so you can easily use them. One of the ones I use a lot is the GPT project instructions builder, which we'll talk about here in a second. All right, so come down here. Okay, and that is GPT. So if you're like, I need a GPT to help me write RFPs, right? So your RFP, put it in there. Let's see if something shows up. Okay, government bid RFP proposal assistant. So it helps write government bids. Specializes in RFP, RFQ, and RFI analysis and response preparation. Okay, so somebody wrote this already. You could use it, or you could say, I don't want to use it. The only thing to remember, and this is one of the issues we have in public procurement, really in any procurement, right? When we get to that security part, right? When we start to receive vendor responses, that's when vendors expect their data to be secured and remain confidential. When you drop it into a public model like this, the risk is it gets out there in the bigger. Okay, they may not want that, especially pricing data or any other proprietary information they don't want out there. They don't want it dropped in. So if you were to drop that in here, that everyone would see that, right? We don't want that to happen. Okay, so you go in here, you go through there. So that's what GPTs are. Okay, I use mine to write prompts, write instructions. I use it to create projects. And here's all my projects, right? And we're going to do that today. Right, create a project, right? And the reason we use project is we're going to do RFP projects. Okay, so you come over there, you click new projects, you open it up. And let's see what a project looks like. So when you have a project, you have files which are similar to your shared drive, right? Your OneDrive. All these templates, right? All this stuff, right? You would be able to drop in here. The limitation is the project files, you're limited to 20 files. So all your templates, all your compliance documents, all those, you're only limited to 20. So if you have more than 20, which we have in this case, we would limit those specifically to RFPs, right? So in our case here, I'm going to open this up here. We have our RFQs. We have one, sit there. We have 14 documents. We just drop those right in here. Boom. What's happening now is it's going in, it's reading all this document, it's indexing this information, it's looking at where all this information is, so that when we start to give it prompts, it can find the information, right? We're giving it examples, right? We're giving checklists, post-award, notice solicitation, interest of vendors, new contract, agency notification, questionnaires for services to make sure you have a very good statement of work, signature page, letter of vendor registration, right? Trade and authorization, offers, you got all these documents. Now we're going to go grab some compliance documents. We're at 14, so we got a few to go. 1, 2, and 3. Put those in here. Oops, I opened them. I should have done that. Let's go over here. Boom. The big one is this one right here, which I want to open with Google. Okay, this is the big one. This is 170 pages, contractor's manual. I just dropped that in right here, boom. It has that information. So it has it at its fingertips right here, all this project files. And I think we are good. So we had 18 files, we got 2 files to go, What would I do for this particular one is I would then drop in my excavator market research. I'll go over here, to the tool, which I have here. There you go. There we go. Excavator market research. Oh, I lose it. I didn't lose it. I just gotta find it again. I go back here and I'll find it. I got you. I got it. Don't worry. Competitive market analysis. I drop that in there. Okay. We're all good to go. Okay. Yeah. All right, cool. I have all this in here, right? Now, we want to build our assistant. We want to tell our assistant what to do. This is where the instructions come into play. This is where I use my friend here, the GPT project instructions guide right here. And usually what I do is I come over here and I dump in all the files I use to create my prompts, all my instructions, all that good stuff, and I'll just drop it right in here. In this case, we have our RFQ tool builder and evaluation toolkit. We have our prompts. Okay, got all this stuff. We're just going to drop it right in here. Hold on a second. Turn this off. So we got right here, 8 documents. And then this is what I say. I say, based on the attached documents, create instructions for an RFP assistant to help me draft, review, and evaluate RFPs. Boom. So now it's going in, it's reading all these documents. It says, okay, got it. Randy, let me write, I'm going to write instructions. Basically, it's writing an SOP for my assistant, which is going to be my project right here. Okay. So you can see here, you're a senior procurement strategist, AI-powered sourcing analyst. You're specializing in helping procurement professionals develop, refine, and evaluate RFPs, RFQs for goods and services, especially logistics and third-party operations. The reason it says that is because in my instructions that I dropped in up here, we were focusing on a 3PL RFP. You follow public sector procurement norms and apply generative AI techniques to clarity, compliance, all these different things. Capabilities and functions, it goes through there. Tools, templates, all right. Default output format, so it's telling it what to output, right? Advanced capabilities, all this good stuff here. Say, great. I don't want a specific for 3PL, but a generalist I can apply to any requirement. Boom. Okay. Now notice I misspelled this. It didn't care. It figured it out. Okay. So now it's coming in, it's getting a little bit more detail so it can work and come through here. All right, cool. Now what we do with these instructions is what I'll do is I'll copy and paste them, put them right here, and then we're going to do our RFP. So notice what I want you to notice when I did that is we spent probably less than 5 minutes building out the instructions, and I've talked more than it's taken me to actually do this, right? So we have all these instructions. All right, come over here, right here, boom, 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 boom. I take all this information, right, just like this. Got this, Control C, over here, boom, save it. Now, the other thing I do is I create seating instructions for a new project. Now, what are seating instructions? Seating instructions are just like if you were to start a new project, you bring your entire team in and you give them a little bit of background. So what I'm asking it to do is create seating instructions so that whenever I start a new project, that it will just refresh, come together, and we start over for a new project. Okay. So here we go. Now it's telling you, okay, this is what you're going to do. This is how you're going to do it. Ask questions. Basically just priming and, prepping my assistants so that they're successful, right? Giving them everything. So again, if you think of it as an assistant, you're going to be a lot better. Startup prompts for users. We'll come over here and I just copy it all. Okay. See this little button here? Copy. Copies the entire response. Put it right over here. Say, boom. Let's get started. And it goes. It's okay. Now what we're going to do. So now it's taking me less than 10 minutes to build this, right? And this is your project. This is project, very similar to Copilot, but here we go. Now what I'm going to do, I've got the market research, got all that loaded up here. And now I'm going to do is just take my statement of work, say, great. Based on the template, create a statement of work. Now, last week we did this in Copilot. Now we're just doing the whole project. Now I want you to notice the time, the entire project that we talked about in Copilot last week and Copilot this week, we're going to do it all right here. You can do them both in Copilot. Again, remember, Copilot is for security and it connects all your apps. So you wouldn't have to drop all that stuff in there. It'd already be inherent. So if you have a team, your procurement team, and you all use the same compliance files, you all use the same templates. You just have to build that structure on your shared drive one time, then everyone can reference it again and again, right? That's the value there, and then one person can keep it up to date. One person can build all this stuff. Now, if you need help building it, let me know. I can definitely work with you to help build these things out. these workflows and help structure this stuff for you. And that's what office hours is for, right? So make sure you show up for office hours. Okay, so here, create a statement of work. So we have the market research for the mini excavator using the market research and your knowledge. So what I'm telling it to do is go specifically to the upload to find the market research to build a statement of work. It's going through, it's analyzing it, and now it's going through and it's creating my statement of work. Okay, I can't even type that fast, right? So it's going through objective, minimum technical requirements, preferred features, delivery acceptance criteria, training documentation, post-award support. Great. Now, based on this, let's create the RFQ document. Now it's going through, it's looking at the RFQ template, right? Now I forgot to tell it to look at that, right? But it did, it found it anyway. It found the template and it's going through and it's building out my RFQ, right? Got my pricing sheet, good to go. Say, great, wait, okay, is this compliance with the contract manual? Okay, over here. Now it's saying, is it compliant? Good to go. And it found those documents. Notice here, it's telling me where it found the information. So I don't have to guess if it's guessing. It's telling me this is where it said, yeah, it's compliant, it's compliant. Recommended enhancements, okay? And now it's telling me what I need to do to make it better. Compliance, what compliance is missing? Tell me what is missing, why it's missing, and how to make it compliant. So, okay. Now it's going to go back and read it. It's going to look at the compliance, and it's going through. Now we have some compliance gaps. What's the area? What's missing? Why it's an issue? How to fix it? This will become expandable here in a second. We'll be able to look at it. We come over here, make it a little bit smaller. Okay, so we got that. So we have all this information here. And it tells me how to fix it. There we go. How to make it compliant. Say, great. Based on this, rewrite the RFQ to be compliant based on your findings. Well, okay, so now it's going to go through, it's going to find all the requirements, make sure that it's good to go. Okay, now notice here, okay, this is what they call a canvas. All right, so now it's going through and it's writing this, all the issues coming through. We're doing okay on time. Okay. This is good because it gives you a lot of information that you can readily see, copy, paste, and create. Okay. What's dangerous about this, and the reason I say it's dangerous is because as soon as you make a comment here, okay, review for compliance again. Compliance again. Okay. It's going to go through and it's going to look. Here it is. Okay. Compliance review. Now it's going through. Great. And now we're all good. Okay. Now just come back up here. Go look at this. You can go through this and you have this. Now, if I had your actual templates, we could drop those in here. We could work, continue to massage it, make it better and better. But here we got a pretty good RFQ to move forward with. Is it compliant with what you need? I don't know. But you would use your compliance documents to build this out. Okay, so you're all good here. You've done another compliance review. And you can say you got the checks in the boxes. Now, human judgment, right? Remember that, human judgment. Even though AI says it's compliant, you are responsible for the results. If you decide to cut and paste that and put it right in a document and publish it without looking at it, and it's wrong, That's on you. It's not the AI's fault. Okay. It's doing its best based on what it says and its knowledge and everything is good. All right. And it works. But if it's not correct, you have to read it, review it, and then correct it just like an assistant. Right. So we would go through this based on our experience. We would read this, especially the first couple of times you're doing this process. You're training the AI just like you're training an assistant. As it gets better, as you get more confidence in the AI, it can do more work for you, just like an assistant. So you'd go through, you'd read it. If there was anything wrong, you would come back over here and you would come in here and say, nope, not correct, because XYZ, whatever the reason, right? And it would say, oh, okay. Yeah, they would learn, but it would learn. All right. It would learn. It would learn it, correct it once. It learns that one thing, and it's good to go. All right. Does that make sense? So you're able to work with it and do it over and over again. Okay. So what we've done so far today, and we're at 4:24, so Eastern time. So what we're at is that we've learned how to take an SOW, create an RFP using Copilot and ChatGPT. So what we would do is we would take that RFP and then we would send it to our vendors. We would post it in our system, whichever it is, however it works. And then you would receive responses, right? Now, what I did is I went in and I created some mock responses from some vendors, okay? So we're going to have those come in. And what I would do is say, okay, good to go. Come over here. And I have responses, tentative responses. Okay. So I have boom, boom, boom from 3 vendors. And come over here. Okay. So what I have here. Okay. So just to show you what we have here, and show you, I have a price sheet. I have, I'm showing my screen. You won't be able to see that. So what I have in here is a response from Western State Cat, John Deere, and Bobcat. I have their pricing sheet, and I have an evaluation matrix put right in there that we can all look at right here. Okay, let me see how I have it in here. Drive. So let's watch this. Okay, we're going to go to OneDrive. Going to go over to my files. Going to go over here to my presentations today. We're here to AI-powered solicitations. I have my templates for demo, and I have my evaluation. Awesome. I got it right here. Perfect. Okay. So what I did is I have responses that I created, their pricing sheet, and have a little evaluation matrix right here. Okay. So it went through and it weighted it and it scored it. So we got all that put together. So I'm going to take that, put it all into ChatGPT, say, great. Attached are 3 responses from vendors. I need you to review and evaluate and provide a decision. Okay, so now it's going to go through, it's reading through it, good to go. It's making it happen, and we're coming through. Okay. All right, so Diane, we'll continue the meeting, but it's scheduled to end at 4:30, but we're going to keep, we're not going to do this, all right? So, in the event, you're going to continue. All right. Okay, so it goes through and it does this based on the specifications. Okay, let's go back. It went through, it read these responses, it read the spreadsheets, it evaluated it based on the matrix. Specific compliance notes, your minimum requirement operating weight, 12,000 pounds. John Deere significantly under. Bobcat's also under, and Western Stats, but still under. No vendor submitted a machine fully meets your requirement spec. However, the RFQ included a clause stating all specifications are minimums. Equivalent models to meet or exceed the specifications will be accepted. Right. So it told you, hey, this gave you rejection reasons, and it told you why. Recommendation: conditional award, Western States, based on most compliant unit overall, best warranty, strong parts, services, support with local reach, only vendors to offer dual track with a 2-hour orientation and meets delivery timeline. Caveat: issue clarification letter noting. Okay, great. Create the clarification letter. Okay, so now it's going through and it's writing the clarification letter. It's putting it all together. How long did it take? We dropped in the vendors, we had their response, we evaluated their response, then we took that, it gave us an answer that we could evaluate all less than, I think I started this at 4:15 on the project side. I built the project, I brought in all the files, I created the SOW, I created the RFP, I sent it out to vendors, I brought back responses, I took those responses, I put it in, I evaluated it, I came up with a decision, and we're going through it. Okay, so that's just how we all put it all together and we're able to make it work. So just to wrap it up, we're at 4:30. I know it's kind of the end of the day and you may have some other things to do, which is great. Again, if you have any questions about anything, we will have this on office hours on Friday. Bring your questions. If you want me to work a project for office hours, send it ahead of time and we will make sure that we set up to work that project during office hours. Absolutely not a problem with that. Okay, so here we just start working it. We just are going through the process. We can issue an award letter. Okay, issue an award letter and award letter. Okay, and then the next step would be to write the contract, which will be another conversation for a different day because they were looking at compliance. We want to make sure it works. Actually, that's going to be one we're going to use when we build an agent. We're going to make sure that we build an agent because you want to make sure that contract is absolutely correct. Okay, so with that, as we kind of wrap it up, what questions do you have before we end the day? What questions do you have before the end of the day? Anything that you might have about anything. All right. All right, good. Okay, good. So again, thank you for your time this afternoon. If you're a visitor with us, you want to join the community, make sure you reach out to me. I'll give you information on how to join the community. So you can join us every single week, not only to talk about these things, but then you get the recordings, the prompts, all the information, and anything else I can think of that's going to help you be successful. As well as those of you that are part of the community and you know other people that can benefit from this, make sure you reach out to them, invite them. We'll make sure they get a free opportunity to join us and learn how we put all this together. And they can be successful and start to adapt these things because procurement is one of those areas that's going to make a big, big difference in the future. Thank you, Lindsay. We'll see you next week as well. Really appreciate it. Again, procurement is going to be one of those areas that AI can just swoop right in and help people, right? It can help people do really good things. And as you can see, we did probably a day's worth of work in about 20 minutes, right? We do the RFP research. We take that weeks and times where it takes time to call people and email people, get information back. Goes out and does a deep research project within like 30 minutes. So you're saving a lot of time, which allows you to be much more productive. Your team, for the directors and leaders in the room, you are able to be much more productive. Your team's more productive and can get more done. So all those things where you're overtasked can actually be handled by using AI. And that's one of the reasons we're showing you Copilot, because that gives you the security. And a lot of IT departments have already approved Microsoft as secure for your system and are using it. They just got to turn on the switch. All right. So with that, have a wonderful day. Enjoy your weekend, or hopefully you had a great weekend. You're going to have another good weekend. And we will see you on Friday. Again, I'll be there for about 15 minutes. If nobody shows up, I move on to something else. Take care, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.